It's 3,100.
Yeah, I mean, the hot water tank is only 9 years old.
I see them as low
But-
as 1,550.
I thought while we were doing it, it would be the time to, of course, I can empty the water tank and it could fill back up and I could empty it again when I shower. Sherry hates me because I love a hot shower, but.
Yeah, I have the Navian,
Mhm.
Navian, I don't know which way to pronounce it,
Mhm.
but, I like that one. The only thing I will recommend is that you clean it every year for scaling.
Yeah.
I didn't know about doing that. And then all of a sudden one day I said, sure, I've got, hot water, right? I go hit all the breakers, none of the breakers are tripped, right? And I look, there's a puddle of water. Luckily, I had this little basket, this metal basket
Mhm.
sitting there, and it was full right to the top. And it just dripped over and that was sitting on a plastic, it's a basement storage.
Mhm.
So luckily, nothing got ruined, right? But it just happened. And I'm like, what in the heck would have caused this? So I went down the rabbit hole and I said, it's on demand, what could go wrong? And good, if you got hot water, you should flush it once a year. Some people say twice a year if you have
Yeah.
really hard water, ours isn't that bad.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now how do I do this? 3 hours later, after I've watched every single video on every different model to find out which one's mine, I went to Lowe's and I bought $130 pump or $150 pump. And a set of washing machine hoses and a brand new bucket and 2 jugs of regular distilled or regular white distilled vinegar, not the high concentrated stuff. That'll ruin it, actually. You go back, pour it in the bucket, you turn off your supply and you
Draws
just-
out of one, gets rid of it out of the other.
you flush it through for half an hour. That's all you do is run it half an hour.
Oh, cool.
Then you turn your water supply back on and you let it run until it's just a little bit of water. Throw the vinegar out, turn it back on. I got a problem.
The boiler we've got, we put in when we moved in the house, which was 22 years ago. Well, last year we had the pressure tank that was on, and they replaced the pressure tank, but ever since they replaced the pressure tank, it sounds like it's boiling over. It sounds like it's boiling. So they got looking at it, same problem.
Yeah.
The boiler's full of scale.
Yeah.
And he says, you've had it for 20 years, Bill, and I'm scared to death that if we went and flushed that out good like it probably should be, you would end up with problems and it needs to be replaced anyways. And I've gotten several quotes in that, for doing the boiler. And I also got quotes for putting in those, like they did over the fire hall, the ceiling, the heaters that are,
Yeah,
um,
the splits.
yeah, exactly. And I got pretty good prices on both of them, but I told Sherry I'd really like to get somebody else to quote, so.
Who'd you get the quote for the boiler?
Terry Clark.
Okay.
So it's only because he's the guy that services, if I have a problem, I call him, they come down, they take care of it, so Sherry says, I'd like to stay with him on that. And I told her, I said, well, if we don't go with the split heat, we can still get just air conditioning units that can go up like that, because right now we use windows. And I said, we can get air conditioning units and put a air conditioner outside and have air in the house, and so she liked that idea, so we'll see what happens. It's in her hands.
There you
We'll
go.
check.
That's the most important part. He who has the gold makes the
Yeah.
rules.
No kidding.
That's very true. Very true. So,
Yeah, the tankless water, I mean, this is the first place I've had that, the Ivan one or whatever, and it was put in prior to me being there, so. I got a booklet on it, but it doesn't tell you a whole lot. I can learn more from YouTube than anything else.
Yeah.
But it's not that bad, and I tell you what, it takes a little bit longer to get hot water to your faucet. But that's partly because I have no water pressure, so it literally, if I turn my hot water on in my sink, it takes me a solid 4 minutes to get a drop of hot water. So there's just no pressure. It's just
Yeah.
like, but now I have a buddy's house that he put one in and he turns it on and it's instant. It's like literally 10 seconds, he's got hot water,
Yeah.
so.
Well, mine
Just how much water is being pushed through there.
Yeah,
my water at the house, in my place, what I did was when we replaced the kitchen. And then we had the sink unit, the spigots all go bad, so I went and bought new spigots in there, hooked them all up. But the supply lines are like, well, I learned. And it's like you just said, I put a 2-gallon container under there for putting water in and then I put it in the refrigerator. Fuck, I can go out and mow the lawn, I can't, because it's just those little bitty goddamn lines. I told Sherry, when it comes time to replace it again, I learned, we go to a bigger line and that's all it is. Because everything's new up to it, that kind of thing.
I looked at putting a booster in up there and I gotta put in a whole new service if I wanna do that,
Mhm.
because my supply line coming in is undersized.
Yeah.
It's, it's 3/4 of an inch down to half, right, and it goes like this right at the wall. It's
Oh,
not,
lovely.
it's right there. So
Yeah,
you gotta put a new service in, because
Yeah.
no, because the booster, I have to have 3/4
Mhm.
coming in. I can't use a 1/2 inch supply line, so I gotta have 3/4. So I either cut out the wall around it and then cut back, dig under my deck down 4 feet and over 2 feet, or I put in the service. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not spending $5 grand right now. I'll just move to Florida, be done with it.
yeah, and get blown off the face of the earth.
I'm going down in a couple weeks.
I know.
My sister's house got trash.
Yeah, Terry's, I say Terry's mom. My stepmom, that hurts me, but anyway, they lost the house, the whole 9 yards, and he is back. He came back Saturday, he said, is what he told
He
me,
did.
because the girls said to me, they said, we haven't even seen him yet. He normally comes in here, once a day or whatever, and
Oh, Terry, I just passed him.
He
Yeah, no, he's back,
He
but-
disagrees with what they're doing, so he's not talking.
oh, down there?
Yeah,
Oh, does he really?
Yeah.
Oh, like he's got a lot to say about it, you
Yeah.
know?
exactly. So it's not your money.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yeah, my sister, I mean, they had flood insurance, but that only, in Florida, it only goes up to $250,000. It stops, no matter how much your house is worth. And the homeowners didn't kick in on the first one. Well, now the second one, they had a tree go through the house. So they're waiting for the homeowner, but they have a Sprinter van.
Mhm,
Sprinter van. They're moving in that in their yard.
Well, I gotta believe it's probably what Doris and Tommy are doing, is living in their camper, aren't they?
They are, which you can't move because the drivetrain is all shot from the flood, but the living quarters and the air conditioners.
We're okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's gonna gut my place and rewire it, replumb it and build it out.
Yeah, I can hear Terry right now.
Himself?
The thing is that with the insurance companies, they're willing to pay to replace versus rebuild, because if they knock them down and rebuild by the new code, they have to be 10 feet off the ground. Well, now, you just added,
Oh, yeah.
knocked down and added $500,000 to the project.
Get it up off the
These
water.
insurance companies will just give them X, but so now they're fighting with the insurance company and do it.
Yeah. Sir? Hello, how are
Hey,
you?
man, how are you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go down there and do a little work for a minute.
So just after I got the state by the horns there, David, I'm doing all my stuff for the DOH and recertifying everything. Once the bastards turn around and change all of it again for the next time I gotta do it, it's like, well, okay, whatever, yeah,
Give them a different decision than that.
yep, yep. How are you?
Oh.
Well,
Good, how are you?
all right, can you turn the? Let's try to get on the it'll work.
Ooh.
I agree. I know, but it's looking at me.
It's just coming to me in mouth. I don't know if anybody's gonna do.
Actually, did all right.
Yeah.
New mouse.
By the time I got there, it was too late.
Was it really?
Yeah, you
This
know.
works.
Yeah,
Back
well,
and forth.
Thank you. I think good.
Thank you.
Yeah, well,
And when I got back, it's pretty hard to get back in the saddle again.
I didn't get to it.
There is a bunch of them there.
Yeah, we went away for, it only went away for 3 or 4 days and it was like, damn, I want to go back to work, I don't want to, well, we got, Vital Signs Conference at the convention center in the city this week, 3 days, and,
They let you stay up there, do you?
well, no, I could, but it's only Rochester. And I'm trying to save some money to invest in some equipment more for over the ambulance corps, so.
Gotcha.
There's only 2 of us that are going and one on just one day Saturday, so we put it off. Yeah,
Makes sense.
well, if it were Saratoga or something,
Yeah.
like it has been in the past, that's one thing, it just makes sense to me. Yeah, exactly, but,
I
yeah,
thought it was gonna be
You don't mind, that'd be
to
great.
do it. And do like 50 miles.
Yeah.
And then the 2%.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Tommy lives right in Webster, So I'm driving to Lowe's, which isn't probably the smartest thing to do because it's Lowe's. I'll be in there snooping around. That place opens early in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
It does,
And so he's gonna pick me up there because he lives just around the block from it.
perfect,
And then we go downtown, so I hate driving downtown.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to sign up for the trunk or treat, that part of Nance,
No, it's the PTO, parent teacher. I don't know what they call
so
it.
it sends something to Sodus PTO.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's PTO or what.
it's not so faculty association, is it?
No, it's a parent teacher. thing.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. They got like 500 kids come through there.
It's crazy,
It's crazy.
Turned into a real good thing.
yeah, it is, it's really
Yeah,
much better to have something like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
and we're gonna decorate it over the ambulance base on Sunday. We gotta go up and cover the Northern Erase Sunday morning.
Yep.
At Reliant, and then we're gonna come back here and put our lights up around out front for Pumpkin Day. Then the next one's Christmas. Yeah,
Tis the season, man. Now they come boom, boom,
oh,
boom.
yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do, one after another, sure. Someone. Or drinking, and I can tell you I wasn't drinking, so.
Hey, Matt,
Hey, how are you?
good, you think that you old yet?
Yeah, about it's been 16 months.
It's crazy.
I was babysitting a 17-month-old today, so I know what you're going through.
It's actually probably pretty close to 17, 28 is. Well, his birthday's May 10th.
So he's pretty cool now.
Yeah, yeah, he's starting to have a little personality and stuff.
That's when they get to be more fun.
Yeah. It's been kind of hit and miss lately. He's usually pretty good. Last thing he woke up by like 4:30 this morning, but usually he's 5:36.
That's perfect. Gotta get going anyway.
We see and say the pledge, please. Everybody allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is to approve the minutes on the September 19th.
I just think.
So
I'll second it.
All in favor? Thank you.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't there.
Right. Our water levels keep going down this week. Tomorrow they expect the outflow higher than the plan calls for to make up for setting it lower from September through mid-October. So we'll drop even faster for a few weeks. In our water system study, the final engineering report portion is complete. The asset management portion should be complete by the end of the month, and then we'll get it as one package sometime early in November, certainly before the next board meeting. Our action to take when we get it is to accept it and then start looking for grants, and the timing for that is in the spring, and that's all laid out. And Barton and Judas will continue to help us if that's what we want them to do. Community peer, the final report's supposed to be here by the end of the month, and the grant will be closed out. So we will have that. It'll be like many of our others. It'll sit on the shelf until money can be found to implement that. South Municipal Parking Lot, we did get the compactor specs finally this week, so giving those to the consultant. The estimates are all coming back at $500,000, and we were hoping for 250 or 300. So we're gonna have to find money if we decide to do that. And that probably means borrowing it, because I don't think don't have that anywhere we can grab, but once we get the final report, Tracy can give us some recommendations.
This is for the municipal part of the playground, right?
It's for the parking lot between the playground and Hots Point.
I'm right now working with a company to try to do part of that. If we make it environmental, there might be some opportunity there. I'm going in for bank stabilization. I'll meet offline with you on it.
Okay,
Because I'm gonna write that next week.
okay, yeah, because bank stabilization is not addressed in this.
Right, so I'm trying to get that so we can line it up at the same time.
Okay,
And so when I got that part, that's why I had you give me the
yep,
plan that they drew up. If we were to do, I'm thinking porous or something like that, I don't know what you definitely want the materials to be, but there's some porous stuff that can really aid in the bay. And if it would work, and I don't know what I'm talking about really, of me being out that has to do it. I just know that those things exist, and if we did it jointly, because they're going to do some of the work for the grounds. And I've got part of that lined up, but there's more there to be had.
Okay.
If I can prove that it's environmental.
and we can certainly talk through that. We have researched porous pavement multiple times. And basically you have to buy expensive equipment to maintain it, particularly in our environment. And you have to vacuum it with a vac truck to get the sand out of it for it to work, otherwise it just plugs up.
So it's
So
poured concrete.
it can be explored again. Well, the idea of porous pavement is the water goes through it and into the ground,
Yes.
not sheets off somewhere.
And you tile it to
Yeah.
make it happen,
Yeah. So,
so,
I understand that. I'm just saying, if you poured concrete, you could run a perimeter ditch to a central,
well, like a French drain.
just saying as an option, I mean,
That
cost
I know
wise.
of, that I know of.
I'm just saying, because cost wise, if you could do that,
but we can't take the water to the bed.
right, no, I'm saying,
Take it
you-
to the,
if you run a French drain, if you will, and you can direct it where it's gonna go, even if it's gotta go to a pumping station, wherever it's gotta be, and you can put it where it's gotta go.
Yeah. Tomorrow Shoreline will ask for volunteers to form an ethics committee. We were notified a few weeks ago that the county will no longer hear local ethics cases. We haven't had one to my knowledge that's been there, but it would behoove us to have an ethics committee, so I just asked for volunteers to speak up. It'll be part of our organizational appointments in December when we do that. I don't think it's urgent at all.
I think you'd have to amend your code to allow for, you know, how many board members, terms, all that, just an FYI.
Okay, it may be there, because we
It
used
does.
to have one.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's the ethics. It's right here, and it does have, either 3 or 5, it says in there, members.
Okay.
And that's what it says. I mean, you want this copy, you're welcome to take it, I'll get another one later, but.
I'll try.
I don't think I'll go with it.
All right, and then
I don't think that's it.
That's not.
I'll let Lori talk about the ETS audit.
I'll look it up. Oh,
We
no.
just got that.
oh, yeah, I got that.
I saw it was in your report.
Yeah.
So I won't talk about it.
Okay,
Bill?
Fire department wise, 1, 2, 3, 6 calls since the last board meeting. They had 6 members that went to the fire prevention day, with R26. WR4, they're gonna keep in the water as long as they can, as long as there's no ice on the bay. Upcoming events, October 18th, which is tomorrow.
Wow.
The elementary, the first graders are coming down, around 75 of them to go through the fire station to see the trucks and that, as well as, the ambulance. And then, Keith and Lori Hayden are gonna be over there. Keith's gonna be taking care of running them through the ambulance, and Lori's gonna be handing out the junior medic stickers that we bought that they can put on their clothes and that kind of thing. The other thing, and I told Dave I wasn't gonna say much about this tonight, but I'm gonna, Bud and I talked back, a month and a half, 2 months ago,
Yeah.
about a placement for a public pier down on Wickham Boulevard. I'm gonna let you know, I got one mild drawing of something. I'm waiting for another one. And then probably next month, if everything goes right, or in December, however it comes, we'll get it out. But my question is, we're looking at about $150,000. And when I show you the drawing in that, we end up with, the way the drawing is, we end up with a space for the water rescue. We end up with two, handicap spaces. We end up with about 8 regular slips plus 4 jet ski slips plus, kayak spot or a kayak ramp, launch, whatever you wanna call it. I got a quote from, and just off the top of just having it checked, a quote from a gentleman in Ontario, and Brandon's working on a quote for him. My question is, I guess, to just ask, do we want to keep working on this? Because the next step now is going to be start talking about looking at permits and that. I mean, obviously, we've got to come up with the money in that, but in comparison to what we were looking at over next to Jamie's place, this is all new material. Brandon's stocks will have, I don't know what you want to call it, but a spot to go down through them for electric, so that we can put something out on the ends. I talked with Kevin, and Kevin says one of the requirements now is that you have handicap spots, which we've got that figured into it. Everything is there, but I'm waiting for Brandon to get back to us, and then we'll go from there with it. Then the board can make a little bit of a decision to see
Sure.
what way we want to go. We know the water's shallow down there, you know, right now, but nobody's using it right now anyway. Location wise, they're 5 minutes from the county park and the pier. They're 5 minutes, maybe 10, if they just stroll along to go to the old lighthouse. They can go through the ROW and get to the park over there, the ball field, all of downtown. They can get to the clerk. You know, I mean, it's centrally located enough to take stuff down there. It does not do an awful lot for the other end of town. But there's a couple of other things that we've looked into to maybe help with that a little bit as well, but that's just the direction I've gone.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll go from there. When I get the other drawing, I'll make sure people get a look at it, and like I said, just go from that.
I think it's great.
Okay. Of course, we all know insurance is coming again because the new budget's gonna be coming. And I told you about the fire department. David talked about the code of ethics. We'll get that going. I guess that's it for right now. Thanks, that's enough, I'm sorry.
Report for Silver Waters ambulance for September, they had 20 responses. 11 of them were, needed ALS assist, 11 were also billable, 7 were public assist. 7 responses so far in October. A new CPR machine is due this week. We've done web training on that machine after last month's agency meeting. They're also going to be purchasing a Doppler for finding a patient's hard to find pulse.
Yes, it's used for more so heavy patients, or anybody that's got blood clots in their legs or whatever. I ran into an issue, not an issue, but I ran head to head with a girl at Strong Memorial about a month ago, and she said, well, how do you know that's where the pulse is? I said, see where that X is? Because I was always trained, if you find it, make a marker and mark it. Doctor came out with a Doppler, which with the donation that we got for the new CPR machine, it left us plenty of money to buy the Doppler, and that's what the people that donated wanted us to do, was buy equipment with it. So that's the direction I was telling David the other day about. That's the direction we're gonna go with it. And we should still have some money left over after that, out of that thing, but it's pretty neat.
Is there any, like service life to that Doppler or the new CPR machine or anything?
I can tell you what the hospitals have told me and what Strikers told me is that the hospitals, with all their medical equipment, they go with an 8-year lifespan. Okay, which is And if you ever watch TV and you watch the damn cots and gurneys that are in it, they all have Stryker stamped on the side of them. The heart monitor, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
But the heart machine that we're buying, first year's warranty, second year is gonna be paid for right off the top with a, maintenance contract. And then the maintenance contract will continue after that. And that's the way the Lucas was. It's just that the Lucas was 12 years old, the older one, the other one we had. And when it kicked the bucket big. So that's history, but that's, like I said, the hospital's looking about 8 years on equipment, and that's when they start replacing.
Okay.
Was the use that we give something?
Yeah.
You know, we made 12 years with the old Lucas, and we used it more in this last year than we've used it in a long time, so.
What's the lifespan on SCBA now?
An SCBA,
Yeah.
well, that depends on what the government decides, because, most of the time, if you buy new SCBA's, they're probably good for, what, 15 years maybe, David?
I think
Self-contained 12s. I know the bottles are good for less time than
Yeah.
the unit themselves. These guys, they're in pretty good shape over here right now. They got new bottles just here a year, maybe 2 years ago now, through
we pay
rental
for
or whatever it is, yeah. So, yeah, they're in pretty good shape, as far as that goes. As far as turnout gear and that's changing so much all the time, and it's just gotten crazy, but.
Sharon applied for a grant for
Right.
get turnout gear
Right.
and radio.
And radios, yep, so that's what.
When we hear, I don't have no idea. It's been months.
Yeah,
All right. The only other thing with the ambulance, that with the colder season coming upon us, they've changed so added some gear for hypothermia situations. So special stuff for that. Recreation, you probably have seen signs. The fall spectacular is at the end of this month, and it's a lot of people involved, a lot of groups here. There's music, there's food trucks, arts and crafts, stuff for the kids, hay ride, pony ride. Peak Automobile is gonna be, they've got the wagon, like they had during the Sodus festival there. We'll be moving people through town, so a lot of things going on there. And I've been in discussion with, Christine at the tourism office, and I need to get with Carly, and we're, exploring still more some things about the information center.
Sure.
That's it.
Bud?
Okay, highway, getting finished up for the year, there is one brush collection left, one. For October 21st, anybody's listening, or views this
Which is
later,
Monday, by the way.
one, October 21st, the last brush collection.
yeah,
After that leaf collection will begin on November 18th to the 27th. After these dates, they're gonna trans over to getting the truck set up for the final winter setup for plowing and whatnot. Got a little bit of patchwork that needs to be completed, some snow fencing going up. They'll be doing some tree trimming, a few small service items around the village. Lake Road is currently in the works for spring milling, paving, and rebuilding of the shoulders. Brad has talked to a few different companies at this point on best corrective actions for this stretch, and have come up with what will be best to correct all the issues. But they are working on Lake Road. We all know it's a problem, and it's being addressed. As always, any questions, please reach out. The only other thing is buildings. I know I saw the email from Kevin last week. I didn't actually see it till yesterday. About the community center, the ceiling, and we hired Larry to go in and do it. Do we have an estimate on what I know he's doing time and material, but do we have a general idea what the cost is gonna be?
He spent one day so far and bought some material we bought for another job and is using here, and then we'll take them.
What he was doing, I went in there, he was making walls, stuff I've seen before.
Yeah.
He was doing a really nice job of.
Oh, yeah, Larry does good work. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
question about that.
And they had it up and, touched, everything was secured. They'll be able to put it back up, he'll be able to repair something, because he'll be able to walk.
Okay, I couldn't tell from the pictures how much.
I was
It
gonna
dropped
take the picture.
significantly, and then it dropped more over the weekend. And actually, I was worried the whole ceiling was gonna come down, but they got it all braced up, as Lori said. They started to try to fasten it today. The 4-inch screws aren't long enough because there's layers of ceilings. So they took a light out, so they've been able to get access, and they now, tomorrow they'll come back with longer, faster.
They had a drill bit like this.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, and I run into it all the time. Sometimes we just like, it's Pandora's box, we don't get into it.
As long as we're discussing this, when I had the structural engineers out here before, that very first year, that was one of the things they said was gonna happen. The other thing they said that was gonna happen was that the back part was gonna fall off. And that has moved from what I can see, just walking around there. I think we should probably try to repair that or do something to secure it.
Kevin's been getting estimates, so chat with him.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that
that's-
just came up when I went in there because they were doing a nice job at what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was gonna take care of it. I felt like it was at least safe at this point, because I've never wanted to go in there since I talked to a structural engineer. I didn't want anybody in there. You'll remember that. But anyways, it was it was a good job.
No, I was just curious, I just didn't have.
Yeah.
any-
We don't have-
Other than the, you know,
We don't have any idea of the cost, but they've got 1 day into it so far in some
Yeah.
materials, so. They probably got at least 1 more day.
I wouldn't think it would be horrible.
No.
no, I was just curious if it was, you know.
But I think it'll be
total
done.
replacement or was
I-
just
Yeah.
putting a
felt
Band-Aid on a
secure
gunshot
with
wound
it.
in there again, which is what it is.
And you know,
Now you're
if I
talking
was
about-
crazed by it, I'd be being crazy right now. I thought it was a great job.
All right, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Lori?
The LWRP, the Department of State has received sections 1 through 7 of our LWRP and they are reviewing them. Even though they've reviewed it, we may still make changes afterwards, but that they're trying to figure it out, I guess. We did file for the extension. They're still reviewing the present document according to Sharon's letter. When I get home, I can forward this letter to Sharon. It's pretty in-depth, so you can look up the stuff on the LWRP. And I should have done that, but I got busy and didn't do it, so my apologies. But the present document is under review, and we will continue to wait to find out whether we get an extension. I'm pretty sure they're gonna extend it, and she's offered to pay money twice, and it hasn't been taken yet, so, because the review has to be completed first.
And the State Department
It's
takes
slow.
like 6 months or so to review documents.
Which leads me to the playground. We've been doing lots of work and everything with the playground. We were gonna have a golf ball drop on the 26th of October, then we found out that we were working with, if we did something like that, it's like gambling, so you had to you had to fill out all the paperwork, which is at the Department of State and has been for the last 6 weeks. So, that's not gonna happen for right now. But, everything's going well and we will be having another meeting the 12th of November. The planning board, Bruce Ebner and several members of the planning board are attending training on October 30th at MCC. And they're starting with land use decision. I'd like to recognize Bruce for his leadership in getting this done, and his commitment to training. He has hours of it. This lady probably knows that, but
I can agree with that.
he does a great job and he's bringing his people with him. So I've been kind of massaging that a little bit to give him the chance to do it and let everybody get through the summer, and they're taking off on it now. So I felt really good about that. And the EV stations we'll discuss in a few minutes. We received the response, and I think everybody saw it probably in their board packet as I did, from Jack Point, EGS, AES, regarding energy savings in our solar projects. We had participated in that program at no cost, and it was to tell us whether or not it was gonna save us any money. It has not saved us any money. Just as we thought, at present, we've gone green, we can say that, that's about it. It's costing us more. And that's not unusual, I don't think.
No.
But
No, I
it
think,
makes us cautious about doing anything else, which leads us into the EV station.
I think that's the only lesson, because both with streetlights and with the solar farm, we were led astray. Neither is saving us any money. Both are probably costing us a little bit of money. The
Exactly,
solar one is gonna cost us for 15 more years,
yeah.
so.
And if something happens and utilities go way up, then it'll be a good thing, because ours will be stable, but it's, otherwise, at this point, we can say we're green.
Is there, do we have any recourse, with our contract based on the initial findings? Or the
They
initial
tried.
sales pitch or whatever they put in writing saying, your potential energy savings or this and that, we can't go back and say.
Because it's not contractual.
No, but they,
Yeah, but there's a legal term called causation, which we absolutely have the right to, I think, go back and ask.
We can certainly ask Matt to look into it, but
it's, here it is right here. They said they did that, this EAS and or EGS.
Yeah.
They said, let's see, in case you're notified,
he tried to get them to agree to let us terminate the contract.
yes, that was it, thank you. And, I knew I read it. And, they wouldn't do it. And so I think that's kind of dead in the water, but if you get a bunch of communities to gather around, because this is definitely a bait and switch almost.
Yeah, and around streetlights, I forget which community, but Tracy's been in touch with a community that's gathering the grievances from all the communities that use the NIFA program. And we actually asked Matt, could this be a class action suit or something like
Yeah.
that? We don't have that information yet, but once that information is gathered, and we could try it with these guys too. I mean, I can tell you that I talked to these guys about installing solar on a pole barn that I have. It's rated commercial by RG&E. And I asked for a pro forma and they couldn't give me that. So I told them we did on salt. They're high pressure salespeople.
Yeah.
We signed this when, being green was all the rage and.
Well, and there
There's all
was
these other
supposed to be
programs.
$5,000 to do it, and then you get in there and the $5,000 was also like that, if you got it once, you couldn't get it again, even though it said if you got all these points, you would get it again. I really felt misled on that because you went to all this trouble to jump their hoops and then you didn't end up with anything. But
I think that'd be worth going down that road to look at it. I'd be willing to spend a couple $1,000s of our taxpayer money to pay Matt to, take that up and
See what
report it,
direction we can go.
rather than for the next 15 years.
Well, I don't
Okay?
think we're-
Throw good money after
I
bad.
don't think we'd be alone. I think probably the Sodus Village is about the same way. I go to those meetings, but they didn't notify me of one this month. Yeah, that doesn't mean there isn't one. But when I get back, or the next meeting, I'm sure is November, I'll definitely bring it up if you want me to and feel it out and see what they're finding.
Yeah, they used a completely different vendor. And maybe they had better luck, I don't know.
How many entities are a part of it? It's the one that's physically over on. What road? is
Boyd
that?
Road.
Boyd Road, yes. I mean, do you have are we just a small percentage of?
No, we're 51%.
Oh.
And the rest, I believe, is residential customers. We're the named
Mhm.
customer.
Yeah.
There's actually a sign that we have that we could put up at the entrance to that if we wanted
It
to
would
brag
be
about it.
interesting to survey that 49% of the population that's using it. To
See if they're
whether or
getting the
not-
same result or if they're actually seeing a savings. Are we just the carrier, basically, holding the ball for everybody? It's worth looking into, I think, 15 more years of good money after bad.
Yeah.
We have fiduciary, and if we're taking taxpayer money and spending it on something where we don't need to be there, then.
It's not a ton more than our Genie, but it is more than our Genie.
And if our RG&E continues with rate increases like they've just asked for,
It
we
could
might be
be-
getting a deal in 10 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it's a crapshoot
Yeah, it truly is.
and we're green.
Like you're
She's
saying,
got that, she's got that right on her pillow at night.
Yeah.
Green.
well, honestly, John made a big deal of that in his email, I thought.
Yeah.
All right, in terms of Kevin's report, he issued 10 permits and generated $955. Anybody on Zoom have public comment? You do, please unmute yourself, otherwise we will move along.
You wanna do the waterfront, or the water report?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay, I just didn't know if there was.
I just gotta find it. Hang on. We did submit our lead service line inventory yesterday on schedule. In 10 years, all the lead lines have to be replaced. That's a new ruling that just came out a week or two ago. I think annually we have to update the spreadsheet. We're still getting a lot of phone calls and pictures and people responding. But when we're hoping to do meters in the spring to install them, and as meters are installed, they will be taking pictures and documenting both sides of the water meter. So that's another way that we'll get more of them. A lot of people don't know where their meter is or don't want to crawl into their cottage to see what it is. So those are all ones that we're gonna have to do. There's a big valve box over on 14. It's a big concrete thing that he's gonna paint white. Hopefully he did paint white. That's what this is supposed to mean. He's doing a lot of shutoffs. All the samples were provided to DOH. He and Josh are now both using the same lab, which is helping after a couple of weeks of fiasco with the lab, but that's working well now. He continues to work with Bartlett and Judas on the water project and specifically the meter replacement. He's flushed all the dead end lines in the low use areas and he's now prepping everything for cold weather. Sorry, back to public comment. Anybody? All right, we'll close public comment and move on to EV charging stations, and I'll let you start, kick us off here, Lori.
Well, we have, what is it, 4 of them that are available to us. Not many of the locations that I think are really beneficial, other than maybe the one here at the town hall.
And did we get that one from RG&E? Because I only have 2 from RG&E. The lift station and Fireman's Field.
That's all I got.
Yeah, so I don't know that the other 2 were approved by RG&E. We have the DEC grant for those other 2 locations.
Oh, right. I didn't think, nice catch. Anyway. I think it would be beneficial to have parking at the lift station, and this could be a good reason to do it. And I do think you would have cars that would park there while they were out on boats and things like that, that are electric. But in checking with Tracy, the usage of those that we have is not there. I love free stuff, but I don't like to waste money. I don't know, I'm not gonna make a recommendation on this. I think I need a little more, I don't think the technology is there yet. I think this is a push from those that want lots of battery powered cars to get more, and I'm not in disagreement. I mean, the Tesla is an amazing vehicle. And I've had several rides in them. On the same token, you have to sit there while the thing charges. You can't go any farther than your charging station until you get a charge. And now the electric is starting to catch up with these cars. And one of my friends is paying $40 more a month than he was paying for gas by having it in his garage. The technology they said would be better than what it is. It would be up to date. But there's charging stations that take 15 minutes, and I think this one down here takes
Hours.
hours. And these would be not a whole lot better than
Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
Do you wanna put off until we hear from the other two from RG&E? And
Well,
just table it for now,
I
or-
can check, maybe I didn't send them, but
I didn't get them either.
you didn't get them either.
Uh-uh.
Cause I tried to send you before the last meeting, everything I
Yeah.
had to make sure you had it.
Yeah, I didn't get them either, and both of these, all of these are, you need two grants, the DEC grant, which covers some portion, and the RG&E grant, which covers another portion. What's not clear to me is it 100% covered? So I think we were told, but we were told that for the other one, and we paid $1,600 to install it. So
Okay.
Okay,
I think delaying and getting more information is a great idea.
So I think that the part that I'm concerned about is the technology, period, the usage of it. We're not getting the usage that we should get. And like I say, I think it's a great idea. I think it, because we applied for it when this was just really getting started, it took 2 years. I hate to say no to this at this point, but I also want to say yes to have a bunch of junk parked someplace that's not gonna be of value to us. It's just the other pocket, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, what does anybody else think? You've read this stuff, I'm sure, and
yeah, everybody knows my biggest gripe has been the fact that we don't charge for it.
well, we need to charge for them if we do it.
To just try and get something back anyways.
And my other thing that I can't get an answer on, and this is one, is how quickly we'll be reimbursed for these, because we have to pay some up front.
Okay,
Did you read that?
no, I didn't.
I read that somewhere.
You're probably right, because I did not dive in, because
that's a
I
good
have
point.
concerns about this many, certainly.
Right, well, they're down to 4, am I right?
Mhm.
So, and the one that we should have is up at the lighthouse, because that's where you have the most EV
Mhm.
cars, electric cars. You see them up there all the time. That would make sense. Now, the other thing would be is that, can we change the location of them? Which I didn't think about until I got here. Are we free to do that or not? I don't know,
I
so.
don't think so, but we can ask,
Yeah, that's what I'm
because
saying.
they denied the lighthouse location.
Right, you gotta do a seeker again and everything and DEC.
We did all that stuff.
Right, but you gotta do that if you change the location, saying you start from.
It's
Yeah.
not one of the 4, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's why I was thinking if we, maybe we could get a grant or something for the lighthouse to do the other part of it. Or the lighthouse might be interested in charging for it and providing the service. I don't know.
Well, that's one thing that I think we need to make sure we're all aware of. Some of these grants are also available to businesses that want to provide this service for their customers. And it would behoove the marinas, probably the lighthouse, the yacht club is putting one in.
Yacht club is,
Yeah. So there
that,
there
well, I
are
met with
ways
them early on.
for businesses to get some money to help make it happen. What that program is exactly, I don't know, because I didn't explore it, but there is money for them to do that.
So it's not that I'm against it. I just don't know that the timing is right on it. But free is hard to, these things were like $80,000 altogether, weren't they, for 2
They're
churches?
expensive. But we're also giving up parking spaces.
Well, except that you can put on the parking on public events when the parking is scarce.
You can legally park on an EV parking spot.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that will not.
Yeah,
And there are a lot of people that will see somebody not using it park there and at least say something. Maybe not to that person, but
you need to put up a sign that says, this is parking for courtesy. We provide these stations, and I've seen some nice signs that say that.
You know, it may be possible, I don't know, it may be possible to switch out the software or whatever in the one that we have and charge for that, I don't know.
Well, we can charge for that now.
Yeah,
just have it.
we can charge for that. We just have to
If
decide
that's
to
what we
do
wanna
that,
do,
and
yeah,
Tracy and Kevin can make that happen by working with the vendor.
okay. I mean, I'm kind of with you, you know, on one hand, free is great and everything, and I like the idea, but we've got the ones we have now, and that space is not being used.
Well, it's
And-
used, but it's not used often.
Yeah.
Tracy had the number of hours.
17%.
17%, I
Yeah.
mean, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna put more in and.
Yeah.
I'm not real enthusiastic.
On the other side of that, devil's advocate, the other side of that, if the new ones are quicker charging, see, that's one of the problems, like you guys
Yeah.
talked about. Those down there takes hours to charge things. If they were quicker charging, you get them in, you get them charged, and you get people to leave.
Well, rarely are the both spots filled. I mean, in the summer they are from time to time.
Right, no, this time.
It's not
yeah.
very often.
Yeah,
But I think there's also a map, I got to
There
ride
is.
in one of these fancy new electric pickup trucks, oh my gosh, that was something. But, the guy who owned it was telling me that there's a map, when he goes somewhere, you can look and see
Where they are.
where they are, how fast they charge, if it's being used at the moment, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
No, Tesla's got like all sorts of stuff. that
Yeah, I
goes-
mean, this wasn't a Tesla.
I mean, I
this
would
was a
love
different-
there's a guy in Rochester, and they just opened up a new and used EV car mart with all brands.
Oh, I saw that.
I was just listening to him on the Sunday morning show there on 1180 there. I can't remember the name of it. But he said that they've got the new fast charger, supercharger, whatever they want to call it, out front of their dealership. So it might be worth, because they're local, saying, hey, you know, maybe we're a locality, you guys are selling these.
What's your
What's
experience?
your experience and what's the best, you know, because it's so close by.
The village of Sodus just dumped those, the ones that they had down behind the fire department up there too, they got rid of them. And after talking with Scott said it was based on
Yeah.
money, but just,
they weren't used a lot either.
no.
No, and part of the problem, because electric vehicles in cities are great, because you're going short distances, it doesn't matter if it's cold,
Right.
but we're not a short distance from anywhere. So I think the adoption here is obviously gonna be slower. Yeah, we'll get visitors in the summer.
Yeah, well, and you were here last, but I looked it up for last week. The Wayne County, the purchase and retention rate of EVs is 0.06%. So less than
Really?
1% of everybody in Wayne County that is all registered vehicles on the road, not the.
That was cool.
Is less than 1%.
Yeah, well, then we
I'm
just
just-
killed the need.
So less than 1% are EV, are electric
Yes.
vehicles
Are registered.
Or registered.
Yes, of all registered vehicles in Wayne,
in Wayne County, really?
Yeah. less than 1%, 0.06.
So do we wanna just table this and bring it back when it's prudent and we get more information, or do we wanna take a vote to approve or deny?
Well, how about one more thing here? What about, you talk about that there's monies available for businesses or grants or whatever it might be. How about maybe, I don't know if we want to do it or get a hold of somebody that has an idea what to do and send it out to the villages or hand deliver it. We don't have that many businesses in the village. And let it go that way. Let the businesses in the village, I mean, just to pass out is what I'm saying, instead of mailing some. Get some information on them being able to buy them.
Oh, well, and
Instead
I
of
put
us.
a lot of that. That's how the yacht club got it.
Oh, okay.
When I
Okay.
first started this, I talked to people about it, because that was part of getting your percentages for that $5,000.
I will-
And so I did talk to the different people about it. I talked to Caitlin, I talked to, some of the marinas. I think it was Army still at the time, was it? No,
And,
I talked to the lady that used to be in the office about it.
okay,
Jane, that's her name, yes. So I talked to various people
Okay.
about it, but, I'm excited to know that the yacht club actually did something. But
Well, since you did all the legwork on this, what do you think ought to happen?
I think that we should can it myself,
Make a motion.
so moved.
Is there a
To
second?
not accept it at this time, because we don't think it's prudent. What is the, we just got
There's not
put
a
down.
business case in the village.
Pardon me?
It's not a business case in the village.
Right.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I,
Thank you.
See how easy that
do you want to
is?
write them or do you want me to?
Huh?
You want,
I'll write them.
okay. You know, I'm talking to him. I mean, I would write him and say, I think we need this, I think we need this, and he would
I'm
give
just
it.
gonna say we're passing because we have low utilization of the one we have. And we
Yeah.
have concerns about how this
And I-
technology keeps changing.
And I can, yeah, I can write it too if you want, but.
It's up to you. You tell me what you
No,
want.
go ahead. I hate to be the bad guy, but for all the work that we did on it, and then
Yeah.
when they took it back, maybe that was a blessing in disguise, so.
All right, on to new business. We have been down a wastewater operator since Jeff retired in June. We advertised for 6 weeks in a national publication that sent emails out to all of their subscribers for 6 weeks. We advertised locally. I got the civil service people. And there is not a licensed operator that's interested in working here, and we didn't limit anybody by salary, because we were gonna get a licensed operator, we were gonna pay a lot more than union wage. So we left that out and said, you tell us what you need to be paid. We got nobody. We had been approached in the summer by this group called TNT Environmental. It's Tom Fleck guy. He toured our plant when Jeff was here, because Jeff was part of the conversation originally. They have 6 employees, 4 of which have wastewater licenses, 2 of which are trainees. They're willing for less money than we would pay the person we hire. As Tracy calculated that we would pay somebody with benefits and everything included, about $98,000 a year. With $78,000 a year, we can hire this company who will have somebody here 365 days a year. They'll do the testing, they'll do the press. They will still rely on Josh to do some of the work, but it'll also free Josh up to help both water and highway. And also free him up to get his license. The intent is he will continue to move forward and get his license.
Okay,
What some of you may or may not know is Nate's formed his own company that he spends some time doing. He's still full-time here, but he rarely puts in 40 hours. He usually puts in more than 30 and less than 40. But eventually he's gonna build that up and he'll go. These guys can handle water too. So if we want to, if and when that ever happens, now we have a way, without going to Wayne County Water and Sewer Authority, to maintain our system. Probably hire other people to help. Any breaks, they will come on site, but we have to do the digging with our equipment and with our people. They'll supervise and all of that stuff. So I'm looking for approval to approve this contract. This one is for 1 year. We like what happens, and we can choose to renew for longer in the future. Most of their contracts, he says, are 2 years. Williamson is using them. They seem to hire mostly retired operators from other plants. And they have people east, west, and south of us that are employees. So if there's some natural disaster, somebody will be able to get here in all probability. They are going to approach Jeff to see if he's interested in being hired by them. I'll be anxious to hear that answer.
maybe if he goes somewhere else, I can hear it now.
Who knows?
Question on this, you know, next to this, getting side of this, I mean, I don't know what the timeline is for Greg to get his license. You know, has he taken the exam yet?
He took the first of several exams. He failed by 1 point.
Okay.
So he needs to retake that. He needs to be able to spend time to study and take a lot of practice tests. There's practice tests on high. And for a while, he took a bunch of them. But since he's a one-man band now, the time to do that is slim. And then his own time that he was spending, obviously in the summer, got taken up by doing summer stuff. So he's getting back to it a little bit now, but this will really free him up and give him somebody to really help train him and coach him, because Jeff's not good at that. Josh is our fourth trainee that we've hired. None of them got their license.
Right, and that's what I was asking, do we have any, any youth movement, the shadowing, or even with the water department as well? So we don't get in a situation that we had before, like when Nate came on, and, unfortunately, all the knowledge and information kind of went away. And,
Well, yeah,
and now Jeff retiring, same thing's happening, we're kind of like trending backwards. Why are we not pushing, some of these kids that are looking for jobs?
Find one that wants to work here.
Well, I could probably find you one or five. But what's the pay rate? What do we, I mean, you advertise a decent paying job with benefits with no experience, they'll come out of the woodwork,
The union pay rate is $22 or $23 an hour
okay?
with state benefits, with state retirement and full health benefits, or 90% health benefits.
Is that, okay, that's the union rate, is that for a certified operator or just a worker?
That's for a worker.
Okay,
We don't make a distinction to be certified. We give them a annual stipend if they're certified.
correct.
And I think the wastewater stipend is $5,000, but I'm not sure of that.
Okay.
It's the biggest one, because it's the hardest license to keep.
You have to renew that every year or something.
You have to have so many credit hours every year.
And
Like most, Kevin has to do that, Nate has to do
we
that.
pay for that, right?
Yeah,
I think it's 6 months or something, right, if repeat and start taking classes.
yeah, you have to, the state. First of all, there's not enough wastewater operators in New York State. There are wastewater plants in New York State operating that do not and have not for years had a certified operator. So I probably wasn't fast enough trying to push this, but I knew that. So we'll get a nasty letter or something from the DEC, but they're not gonna shut us down, because they sort of can't. And they're way behind, in renewing Speedy's permit. Our Speedy's permit was supposed to be renewed in 17 or 18. We haven't heard a word from them.
Whoa,
When we do, we'll probably have to do disinfection with UV lights as opposed to chlorinating. That's what Sodus was in a similar situation. They just got their renewal last year, and now they got a grant to install a UV disinfection system. So the DEC is way behind, but this is a way, this provides us with a way to be compliant, take the stress off our staff. Josh will still go forward and get his license, and it provides a cushion in the event Nate gets lucky and he gets a lot of customers.
And it's a 12-month contract right now
Right,
initially, so
Right.
it would give us some time too,
do it
to
that.
maybe work and see what else we can
Right.
find, but we'd also be covered, like you're talking about, with water, if Nate does, because you can see, I mean, that's the track he's looking at, is going into his own business.
Yeah.
And the other question I have is I understand, and Nate's a hard worker, don't get me wrong, but if he's supposed to be working 40 hours a week, and he's working between 30 and 40 hours a week, is there any kind of a contract with him that he's supposed to be here 40 hours a week or not?
there's just a union contract that doesn't really,
The benefit package probably is
he has to work at
continuing.
least 30 to keep his
Oh,
benefits.
okay, okay,
So
well, that's
let's-
kind of where I was going with it, to just
His
see.
package is probably, everything is packaged probably based on hours worked. Like,
Yeah.
you know, his pension, you know, credit hours,
Yeah.
health
Yeah.
insurance, everything is
And
based
so
on
it's not
hours,
making
actual
it-
hours work.
He's just taking L off is what they call it. It might affect his vacation time.
It does.
Yeah.
And he'll take unpaid time too.
Yeah,
Well, my thought is, and if it's, I'll make a motion that we do a one-year contract to start with. If nothing comes in within the next 12 months or from when we start the contract, I don't know if you're gonna do it from January to January. I know our budget goes from June till.
I think we better
Price
do
gotta
it
go
now.
November first.
Yeah, I would
All right,
say,
no,
I just need to get them on here and get it going.
yeah, you
The other
should.
thing that it'll do, since they're 7 days a week, right now, Josh and Nate are every other weekend on weekend duty. Neither wants to give it up because it's guaranteed overtime, but if they did it every third week, they'd be less stressed.
Mhm.
So these guys will do it every weekend if that's what we want them to do, so we'll have to sit down and work that out.
I think that we should, review this as a board with the employees at 6 months or 8 months to see how they're feeling, because what's gonna happen in contractual things like this, when they're having to do all the digging and this other employee is gonna be standing on the other side of the hole, that's gonna go over like, in church. And so those kinds of things come, they have to realize that this is what the contract is, they're the slaves, so to speak.
Well,
And
and the
that's how
other,
they take it,
and the other part of that is
and
that
it may motivate them.
we've gotta try and get these guys to remember that we are Department of Public Works. We are not sewer, we are not water, we're not
We're all together.
highway. It's one group, and for years it worked that way. Right now, it seems to be that there's
Some territorial.
some territorial issues going on. And, you know, we're DPW. It's very truthful. It's that way. And Lori, I agree with you. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure that the way it sounds, Josh has been talked to. He's aware of what's going on, I think.
They're all aware of what's going on.
Everybody is that,
Yeah,
so.
we talked to
you know.
everybody, so there's no surprise.
I mean, I don't have a problem having them come in and sit down with them and talk with them,
No.
but,
I think they should be heard though, and that we should get the reality of what it is at like 8 months or something.
It also has in here, you can cancel on 30 days.
30 days
Right.
notice.
Yeah,
I
right.
thought that, so
Right.
it's a.
Which is a nice out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but hopefully,
Well, I think,
hopefully it'll work.
all
I
right,
think what you're talking about, I mean, I'll make the motion that we go with a one-year contract. And
Review.
that we can review with the workers in 6 months
Yeah.
or 8 months or whatever, and then that way, if it's not working, well, we can make a change, or if it is, we can go another distance, but
I'll second
this
that.
contract will be, and like Matt says, you can
30
close it
days.
out in 30 days or 30 days ahead if you want to. So that's my motion.
all right.
I'm sticking
Laura
to it.
seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We work to get that in place by November 1st.
Do we all gotta sign a copy of that?
I believe so.
Okay,
Just,
all right.
Pardon?
Thanks, bud.
so just on here. Just,
I'm assuming the accord certificate that was in there is theirs.
Yes.
Yes.
That's good. Like that.
All right, the next order of new business is to purchase new water meters. And this is a little bit different than we talked about in the past. We've talked often about how old our water meters are and how inaccurate they are. This will allow us to change out meters, put in electric meters, electronic meters, much like your RG&E meters. And eventually, as somebody drives by, the meters will be read. You can also set it up where it's constantly read by an antenna somewhere in the village. What this money buys is the meters and a handheld device, so that when Nate is out reading meters, if he walks by a house that's got an electronic meter, the reading will just show up in the device and beep and let him know. He walks by a house that he needs to touch the dot to read it, it's read in this meter. So all the meter readings go in this little device. And then when he gets back to his office and sits it in the cradle, it downloads it to Williams and Long. This is for 200 meters, which is what he thinks he can install in 12 months. We'll find out. I think that's aggressive, but I would rather he be aggressive than not, so. And it gets all the setup stuff in place, so in the future years, we have about 900 meters. So for the next 4 years after this, we'll be buying meters at the then current price. I only gave you the TI sales quote because that's the new quote that we got for this year. Last year, we did all this research. We looked at deal meters, we looked at Neptune, which is what TI sales sells, and we looked at census meters, which Coordinate sells.
The only question I have is on this device that does the download and the read.
Mhm.
What is the replacement cost of that, and what happens if that goes down? Because they do go down.
He thinks he's got a similar device already. That device is $1,400,
Okay,
and the unit that you wear on your belt or have in your car is $7,500.
okay,
So it's not horrible.
it's not horrible. And how quickly available are they?
I think this quote says 14 to 16 weeks. The salesman is saying that he'll work to get them sooner, and maybe he can, or maybe he can't.
Do they keep anything in stock that can be traded out? My concern is you're getting down to your water bills, you're trying to make your water bills, half of them are done, and the other half can't be read because the machine goes down. You know how that stuff goes.
Well, and maybe we'll buy two,
Yeah,
so that we have a spare. We can certainly talk to him about that. The other thing about this system as opposed to the other two, this is the system that Williamson Law, but we do all our billing documents. They have no problems working with this vendor. They have issues working with the other two. This also happens to be the meters that both Mark and Nate like the best.
Well, the other thing the other day too, there was a gentleman that came in from over on South Shore and, he was just asking questions about his line and the meter box on that that's out front. And I said, well, you shouldn't have to read the meter. I said, it's probably electric, right? He says, well, yeah, it's electric, but he says it hasn't worked such a short time after Mark put it in or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so that's just one of those things
well,
that,
it's
you know,
cash register.
yeah.
Yeah, there are a number of meters, from what I understand, that don't work. Or don't work as they should.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a big problem that we need to start getting after.
for sure.
I think that this is gonna turn out to be a big chunk of money.
That we can gain
Yeah,
from lost water.
Now,
Right,
so Nate's gonna be installing these,
Nate and Josh. will be-
okay, and the in-home ones as well?
Yes.
They'll be going around,
Yeah.
and what, would you say the time frame was on those?
He thinks he can get all 200 installed in 12 months.
Now, question, when they did the water meters where we live, I'm pretty sure they tacked it onto our bill. Like the resident had to pay for it.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
Meter?
I think they did, yeah. Some might be worth looking into it.
yeah,
That's nothing we've contemplated. I think we'd have a riot on our hands.
Yeah, with our current water prices and water bills, if you add another, what? Is it,
$25.
oh, it's more than that.
130.
130,
It's $300 when you add it together.
Yeah.
both pieces.
Yeah.
You start adding that on to somebody's already $1,100 a year water bill, it's,
You could probably get away with new
we're gonna
homeowners.
throw bricks at you.
And you could probably get away with that with new bills.
New homeowners do pay.
I think,
They pay $1,500
I-
for water and $1,500 for sewer.
you know what, with our, I think we need to
One
write in our code, whatever we update to, any new construction. Well, these are in place, any new construction within the village must use one of these meters and make them pay for it.
We already make them pay for it by charging people to join our water system.
Right, but I'm saying I would make sure that they make that a requirement in our code that they have the.
Well, they don't get rid of all the old meters once we have new ones, because he hates reading meters. And it is prone to error because you read it,
It's a
you
little.
write it in a book, so you can transpose numbers.
He's
And then you take the book and you go key it into the system and you can transpose numbers, and then Melanie will run a report and say, something's wrong.
Sometimes
And then you go do it again.
And that's it. These tiny little things, but this would really help.
It's definitely
Oh,
would be
And
time.
and you're
saving.
happy with the Williamson Law book and stuff? for the
Yeah,
most
we
part?
weren't for a while and then they did some updates and I'm pretty happy with them now.
Okay, great.
I tried to convince him to change early on and
I know.
I got shot.
I know, I would say the same thing.
What's the life expectancy of these new?
20 years, they say.
Well, that's good. This board will be long
I'm
gone.
dead and gone.
Let the next one take care of it.
20 years.
I definitely will. 93.
Well, as long as we know that, like you're talking about, that new people that come in for water or whatever, or they build a house, they're getting billed for it. And we are expanding several places here in the village, the way it looks.
Mhm.
And they would be billed for it too, say negligence, they forgot to winterize or whatever, we bill them. If they're the ones that caused the main break or stop working. So they do get billed. It's their fault.
So these 200 that are going in, that leaves what, 500 and something left to do?
There's 900 and some meters. So
Yeah.
in the budget that we approve in March or
I think it's
April,
972.
we'll do another 200. So that every year for the next 4 years, this money is in the budget. We approved this as part of the budget. And for the next 4 budgets, we'll have money in there for meters. Not some of the stuff up top because we'll have already paid.
We'll already have the machine, this and that.
And if he can install more than 200, or if we decide we want to go faster and we want to put everybody on it for a month, I mean, once we have some experience, we can make some decisions.
Also, if we see the return on investment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's consultants that'll just come in and do this in a quarter. It costs a lot of money, but
Yeah, install all the meters.
yeah,
Well, we're poor, so we gotta.
right.
I'll make a motion, we purchase them, the way it's set up, and might as well take the guy with
I'll
us.
second.
yeah. I don't have an issue with it at all. It's,
Yeah, sure.
All those in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
The last order of new business is the financial audit agreement with the company. This year's fee will not exceed $6,495, which I'm sure is up, but I don't know.
But it's not much.
Yeah.
And it's down from what we were paying.
Right.
And I think we've been pretty happy with them, right?
Oh. Yeah, according to Tracy, it's the same as last year,
Okay.
so,
And I think we were happy with them, right?
yeah,
Yeah. I moved that we hire MMD financial audit again for agreement for another year.
all right, sign that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Yeah.
I have a question on one of the, actually two of the bills. The bill that was $10,000, I know that was an emergency, and I know that we had to make that decision based on the crappy pipe and the hole and all the things. And Nate would have gotten overtime for however long it was, but it didn't break down any hours on it. And in my mind, if an auditor takes a look at that, it
It
says,
was further back, there was another page.
I couldn't find, you found it?
Yeah.
Did you find how many
It
hours
was
it
8
was?
hours for the primary guy and 6 hours or something like that for the secondary guy. Well, it was there. The bill was originally $13,000 something, and I just said, we're not paying it. You gotta give us a more reasonable bill.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is that much more reasonable, but it's at least a step in the right direction, and we won't call him unless nobody else will come. in the
Right.
future.
So my question to you is how? I'm sure you have the right to do that, but should at some point the board approve that purchase? Cause it's over the $10,000, then it violates one of our policies, I think.
Not,
Yeah, but
it's an emergency, so it doesn't,
Emergency.
and we're approving it as a result of approving to pay these bills.
Okay,
That's the
so
way
that
it
that takes care of it.
Yeah.
And then the $1,500 for the kayak launch was taken out of the parks, which is probably right. I don't think it's ever had to be before. I've never noticed that. Was there money for that? Well, number one, and number two, nobody was willing to volunteer anymore?
No, and the volunteers were always unreliable, and I think we talked about this at budget, because we got quotes in the spring from at least two, and I don't know if we got from any more. Matt Hendricks did it. Brandon has done it. Caitlin has done it. And now Burroughs has done it.
Okay,
And so we have a 3-year agreement, I believe, with Burroughs to do it in is 1,500, out is 1,500. So $3,000 a year for 3
I think
years.
you're right. We did talk about that. When I was sitting there paying bills, I didn't remember it, so I wrote on it so I wouldn't forget to ask. And you guys might know what I was talking about when you got to it. Okay, I move that we pay the bills.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I,
Any other business?
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you very much. Enjoy. Halloween is next.
Oh, yeah, I'll second it. All in favor? Thank you. Oh, I don't know what it is in here, my eyes.
No, I can probably.
My eyes are turning to water.
Yeah, it is on.
I think it's late. Isn't Thanksgiving the 28th?
It's only 7:30, I'm not that tired yet.
It's late.
It wasn't a long
Yeah.
day.
I'm just thinking about turkey, thinking about food, that's the only reason I had spent.
Usually about this time of year, I say, let's have turkey, because I love turkey.
Yeah.
And I want to have it, but with packing the house, I'm not even saying it.
How much longer have you got before you have to be out?
Another month,
Oh, that's good.
so, but election week, we're gonna move into the rental, so
Where's the rental?
across the street.
Oh, that'll be convenient.
Yep.
Cool.
I have
There's a comment you can see at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See a comment, all right, just gonna have
Yeah.
some tomato. Thank you all.
Nice t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm happy for that.
I gotta go find about this many more
Oh,
things. I almost made it. I figured if you guys are gonna be here just to have a second.
Oh, yeah, I have to do a thing.
Okay, all right.
So you're gonna call that guy out?
Yes.
Okay. Which makes sense because we got the water there.
All right.
Just sketch.
Oh, and then skip this one.
Oh, next,